Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel for 6 things that we learned from Chelsea's 21-22 season. What I've done is I've gone through with an Excel kind of document thing, looked through all of the players, looked at how many blue boxes I've given, looked at how many green boxes I've given, yellows and reds, and there are a few conclusions that we'll get into here at the beginning of the video. But first things first, you guys know I'm on the show of Last Fan Standing. I wasn't this week, but this week the topics were talking about the player of the season. Should Mo Salah have been given player of the season? This is what Paul had to say.
I mean, he's the best. His overall contribution, in terms of giving moments to get you off your seat and all that kind of stuff, I don't think you can argue. I think probably technically Kevin De Bruyne is a better footballer, but that's not what it's about.
Make sure you check the link in the description. Go and subscribe to the Bet Victor channel so that you don't miss an episode of Last Fan Standing. I'm on the show tomorrow and it will be uploaded later on next week. As for Chelsea's player of the season, we begin box number 1 in this 6 things video with Mason Mount. He officially won the player of the season, and if I had to pick who I would have given it to as well, it would have been Mason Mount. I think what people don't need to question about Mount anymore is the output. This season, for goals and assists, Chelsea's highest contributing player. Not only that, we know about how well he works. We know about Thomas Tuchel backs Mason Mount to play in various different positions. When Chelsea this season have been changing things up slightly, we've got wing backs that we started the season with, Ben Chilwell, Reece James, that were doing so well. And even though we've experimented with 4 at the back, Mason Mount is always one of those players that has that quality, has the ability and the output level in order to make sure that Chelsea are getting the best in every match that we play. I think the goals and assists tally for next season for Mason Mount is going to continue to rise. I don't think there can really be many people anymore who criticise this guy to the level that he's been criticised before. Yes, when I look through all of this list that you guys can now see up on the screen, there are certainly a lot of bias from me towards certain players, such as Kai Havertz has been given many green boxes this season, but I'm not even going to mention Kai Havertz in a box within this video because I think overall we've got to really lock down who the most influential players are on a consistent basis. Mason Mount is far more consistent than Kai Havertz. But we move into box number 2. Now, box number 2 is one that when we look at the list again, may not have had as many boxes that are greens compared to some other players on this list. But I've given box number 2 to Mateo Kovacic. I think that when we look at Chelsea this season, when we talk about Tuchel having to change things because of injuries, when consistency with the likes of Jorginho, Kante, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, it was very tough for Chelsea to continue to be consistent throughout this whole season because of so many other variables that were not really within our control. Yes, there are things that can be done to prevent players consistently getting injured, but I think overall, Mateo Kovacic, if we talk about the midfield, I think Kovacic was not only the best of all of the midfielders, but he's also performing at a very, very consistent level. And I think that when we decided to spend that 40 million on Mateo Kovacic, at times I was thinking, well, maybe there could be a player who could play in that role, but can also contribute more goals. The goal he scored against Liverpool is one of the best goals I've seen from Chelsea in recent years. It is a stunning, stunning strike. But when I watch Kovacic play, he has that kind of ability, and I'm not directly comparing him here to say an Eden Hazard, who, by the way, is a European champion now. Delighted about that. But Kovacic kind of does dribble sometimes a bit like Eden Hazard. He has this way of changing the direction of where he's going. He gets out of tight situations, puts in hard tackles, and I think that next season, when we think about Jorginho might leave, when we look at N'Golo Kante's form, it has significantly dipped. Mateo Kovacic is going to be a very important member of this squad. Will we sign a Declan Rice? Is there any chance that we can stop Real Madrid from going out and buying Aurelien Tchouameni? But I do think Kovacic will have a big say next season again for Chelsea. We move into box number 3, and it's a yellow for Romelu Lukaku. The reason it's a yellow is because A, Chelsea's top goal scorer. B, when I look through this list, there are blue boxes in there. There are plenty of greens, but there are also plenty of reds. And bringing it back to what I said about bias doesn't just work with the players that you favour, bias also works against players. And I think that even though the interview was very, very important for Chelsea's season, it put a cloud over the club. It indefinitely put a cloud over certain players and potentially having the confidence in Lukaku as a teammate. So, as well as that, I expected a lot more. We bought an elite level striker. He was at Inter Milan, absolutely banging in goals. Chelsea expected Lukaku to come in, score 20 plus Premier League goals, and inevitably put us closer to challenging Manchester City and Liverpool. And overall, I think when we all look at the balance of Lukaku's season, there were some brilliant performances, great solo moments, but overall, we expected a hell of a lot more. So that is the box that we've given him. Box number 3, it's a yellow. And box number 4, I've given a green to Thiago Silva. The reason it's a green for Silva, I was thinking maybe it could be Rudiger, but then again, my bias comes in. Rudiger didn't sign a new deal. And I wanted to put one of the defenders in here because I think it's important to remember that because Chelsea have had such a turbulent season with the Lukaku story, with Roman Abramovich being forced to sell the club, that cloud of uncertainty that shrouded Chelsea Football Club this season, what we've needed and what has been consistently shown by Thiago Silva on the pitch is leadership. Thiago Silva, at 37 years old, is staying again next season, and I don't see any kind of deterioration in Thiago Silva's game to suggest that he's going to go anywhere anytime soon. I thought he was very important. I thought he had so many good games. He's had a lot of green boxes as well. And I just also love how he has grown to love Chelsea so much. Yes, last season we were European champions. We still won 2 trophies this season and lost 2 domestic cup finals on penalties to a Liverpool team who are one of the best teams in Europe. You can argue Real Madrid is now. But also at the same time, I think we cannot underestimate just how important Thiago Silva, as my voice goes there, Thiago Silva is so important to the likes of Trevor Chalobah, Malang Sarr, even though Sarr isn't quite the player that we would like him to be. He's not quite Chelsea level, but he does have such a big influence on these players and how they're going to grow in their careers. We move into box number 5. This one is sad for me because my favourite Chelsea player in the current squad is N'Golo Kante. And unfortunately, N'Golo Kante this season has not been at the same level of the N'Golo Kantes that we have seen in previous years. In Chelsea's Champions League winning run last season, or the season before last now, N'Golo Kante, man of the match in the knockout matches. This year, there has been a definite drop in the quality, consistent quality of N'Golo Kante. He still has those matches where he's everywhere. He's cleaning everything up. He's carrying the ball forward, something that has developed over the years, particularly since Sarri. But N'Golo Kante, we expect more. We have such a high ceiling, knowing how good this guy can be, that when I really think about it, there's not been many match-winning Kante performances this season. There's been a lot more Kante mistakes. And considering what we've been used to, I do want to pinpoint N'Golo Kante because he was such an important player for Chelsea. He still is absolutely a very important player, but overall, it's probably his worst season in a Chelsea shirt so far. We finish, box number 6 is a clean-cut red for injuries, because if it wasn't for the injuries of Reece James and Ben Chilwell, I strongly believe that Chelsea would have been competing for the title at least until the final month of the season. We were absolutely out of it a couple of months ago. We were challenging for top 4, and at one stage it even looked as though we could have dropped out of that. And again, for the second season in a row, if it isn't for the fact that Arsenal bottled it, Manchester United, absolutely useless, West Ham, great season for them, but they couldn't quite see it over the line with European semi-finals and whatnot. So I think the fact that the injuries, particularly to midfielders at different times, Ziyech gets in good form, gets injured. Marcus Alonso, good player, but he's not Ben Chilwell. So Ben Chilwell and Reece James were making Chelsea play fluid, attacking football. We were top of the league until the beginning of December, and then we lost these 2 players. And I strongly believe that next season, with Chilwell back fit, with Reece James, who is an absolute gem of a footballer, by the way, in my opinion, the most talented member in the Chelsea squad. Next season, with these guys fit, whether we stick with the 3 at the back with wing-backs, whether we go to a 4 at the back, I think that next year, if we can keep players fit, Chelsea will be challenging. We need to spend money. We are so far away from City and Liverpool in the Premier League table, but we're getting to finals still in major competitions. Champions League quarter-final, phenomenal second leg against Real Madrid. First leg, bit of a nightmare. We gave ourselves too much to do, and then look at Real Madrid. They beat Liverpool, they beat us, they beat City. So overall, we're going to talk in a bit more detail about the way that we rate this season, but this has been 6 things we learned from the 21-22 Chelsea season in all competitions. Let me know your 6 things in the comments. I'll see you guys later. Come on, you Blues.